You'll just hit this little green button when you're not speaking. Turn it off here.
Got it.
Like that. I'm going to call us to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands. Thank you. Attendance, we have all 5 board members present and all 4 board students tonight. So thank you, students, for being here. We need to adopt the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move we adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Diana. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. So we have, we're going to start this evening with a presentation. Dr. Irish is going to start us off with a celebration of our community partners.
There we go. Got it.
You just need to warm it up. Okay, I think that there's a longer list that I'm going to speak to, and we have a few representatives here today. So I just wanted to, and this really came out of a recognition and celebration for our summer partnerships, because there are so many things that happen during the summer, and it's a big part of it has everything to do with our community partners. And we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing and have the outcomes that we're having and the success in those programs without our community partners. And so so that's what we're going to focus on today. So first, I would like to invite Treva King, if you can come up here, as a representative for Anacortes Schools Foundation. The Anacortes Schools Foundation has continued to support our summer impact program from year to year for many years, and was able to support our summer programming at the high school this year. And so in addition to that, you allow our students to be successful and start for school with our Ready to Learn Fair. So we do have little thank you gifts, and you can take a few because there's quite a bit here. And then, so I'm just going to keep inviting people up.
No, stay up.
Stay. Yes. You found the perfect spot over there. So then I would like to acknowledge, and I don't know if they're here, but Wayne Husby and Christy Lancaster. They are community members who have volunteered and supported in our Anacortes High School summer program. And so they were here almost day in and day out, making sure that our students had the extra support in addition to the staff. And it was amazing. They were consistently here and they supported the students. Summer Impact has a huge amount of community partners that make not only the funding that supports it to be able to happen, but to have the rich components of it that expand it to the outdoor education and the arts in the schools during the day. So I'm going to just list a few people and then come up when I call you. So Washington State Parks Ranger Joy, I'm going to say her name wrong, Kurowski. She's not here today. She couldn't make it. Friends of the Forest, Katie Early, and come on up. And then Hannah Katz did the main program, and so the two of them supported that. And then Samish Tribe, Denise Crow, she couldn't make it today, but she's consistently been a part of the program too. Fidalgo Dance Works, Melissa Turnage. Hi, Melissa. And then she also invited her team members. She's representing today, but Janet Wilkin and Alexandra Schaefer also participated through Fidalgo Dance Works. And then the Anacortes Theater, Rebecca Persley. I think she's here. And then Anacortes Arts Foundation, Meredith. Come on up. And then we also had a music teacher. This was a new one this year, a music teacher, Grace Little. So for the Summer Impact Program, thank you all for participating. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I could tell. Okay. So thank you all for being a part of that program. And then the final, yeah, they can take some. We're going to do a picture after. And then they have 4 options. You can take a few for your friends. They have nice little, it's my Pinterest moment. So, and then the other thing that I wanted to share, and I really am focusing on the summer, but these partners have supported us throughout the year last year and supported us actually in the beginning of the year. And so we have started to kind of build a crisis support team. And so I just wanted to, and we had a few people that really came together during off hours, during off season, in support of responding to when Austin passed away this summer. So Island Health is our consistent partner who always shows up. And so Patty Codd, if you can come up, Rachel Tampa, Dr. Hammer and Dr. Ali were all a part of coming together, meeting with teams and different people and making sure that we had supports in place. We also had the Anacortes Psych and Wellness, which was we tapped into them and they were at the ready responding. So I don't think Amy Bingle was able to make it today, but Leah Kennedy and Katie King. So come on up and thank you. Not only were they able to provide voluntary support, but then they also gathered a group of people who are willing to be called on, other organizations in the community that can do mental health services, so that if we need to tap into them in an emergency situation. And then Anacortes Family Center, Pat Carlson, who is also our McKinney-Vento district liaison. You came and you have volunteered your time to support because you also, in your former role in Chicago, were the district crisis support lead. And so come on up. You also were here to support us and support students and staff. So thank you so much. All right. I just really wanted to thank so much each of you. And it's such a privilege to work with each of you. We couldn't do this work without you. And your partnership is incredible. So take more. There's lots. Take some for your friends. Take some for your colleagues and team members. Thank you. Oh, I think we're getting a picture.
Yes. Let's get in.
Here you go. With the community partners.
So let's have them come up
Yeah,
to
come
the
on
front.
up here.
Have everybody come
Now
up.
you get to do it all together, so it won't be one person.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
come on in. I'm going to be on the side. And smile.
Thank you, community partners. We could not do our jobs without you, so thank you. We appreciate you all. And thank you for being here this evening. All right. We are going to move then into public comment. So I'll call you up one by one. Just if you've not given public comment before, just a reminder that public comment is limited to 3 minutes. There's a clock on the table over here so you can see your time. And we just ask when the time is up, please wrap up your comments. And then also the board doesn't typically respond to comments during the public meeting, but as necessary or as appropriate, we will follow up afterwards. So the first one is Anastasia Brennick.
Okay, here we go. 3 minutes. First of all, thank you for responding to the email and letting me know that this district is moving into acknowledgement and allowing us to come together as a community to grieve and find space to learn more about the National Day of Remembrance. Also called Orange Shirt Day. It's September 30th. And, it was hard to hear about it happening in Canada, but then when in 2022 we were hearing reports from folks here in Tulalip and finding those mass grave sites of children who were beaten to death, that breaks me down. And I know if you have children, you can't imagine that. So I'm really honored and proud that we can do this, because I need to grieve with y'all, and I need us to find time to come together in that way. So I reached out to a few people, and one mother of a 10th grader here really wanted to have some meaningful dialogue and action around this day. She wanted to let us know that the concept of wearing orange shirts, which was new to me, the concept of wearing orange shirts to commemorate the day stems from an incident involving Phyllis Jack Webstad being happy to wear a bright orange shirt in 1973 to her first day of boarding school, which in my history, I learned that the boarding schools were closed in 1969, so that's something that's interesting. But on the first day, her first day of boarding school, her clothes were stripped away, replaced with plain uniform, and her hair cut short. She never got her shirt back. This represented a lifelong reminder of how her feelings were dismissed by people in authority. And what a great way for us to come back to heal that wound together. September 30th was chosen to acknowledge what was typically the date children were rounded up and sent to residential schools in Canada. Wearing an orange shirt on September 30th symbolizes the resilience of Indigenous people and that every child matters, which is also on the back of these orange shirts. My 10th grader's grandfather attended boarding school in Camp Loops, and we know firsthand how the trauma has generationally impacted our family. So thank you for taking the time. I would like to invite us to do one step beyond just asking the schools to acknowledge it and send it out in emails and Facebook, but also maybe taking 2 minutes, 3 minutes during lunch to just be silent and acknowledge. And I'd also like to invite people on Friday at 4:30 to the Fidalgo Bay Resort to come walk with us, because there's a sacred site there from the Samish that was built over by the condos there, and I'm inviting you to come walk with us there. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you. The next public speaker is Terry Kylo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terry Kylo. I've been a Lutheran pastor for 33 years, and I'm the executive director of Paths to Understanding. Thank you all for your excellent work in helping our community to have really strong schools for all of our students. You might want to start the clock, or I'll keep going all night. So I've been working in the last 10 years to counteract dehumanization, specifically starting with American Muslims. And in studying dehumanization and how it leads to violence, I've read a lot of scholarly works, and I've learned that as many of you may know, that there is a group of Muslims in China called the Uyghurs, who are quite lovely, wonderful people who've been relocated into a camp and who are being re-educated. They are both the victims of genocide and cultural genocide. And the scholars who study genocide, talk about the role of dehumanizing different groups, taking away their humanity, blaming them for things, making people fearful of them. But the 10th stage of genocide is equally chilling as all the previous nine of the 10 steps, and that is denial. Denial that the genocide took place. And I fear as a society, we're still in denial about the genocide of our indigenous neighbors, and we're in denial about the cultural genocide of our indigenous neighbors through these camps, through these schools. And so what I want to ask us to think about is to remember that we're not responsible in this room for what happened. We are responsible to remember, and the act of not remembering itself does moral harm to us and to our students, and ultimately to our community, and lastly to our future. Because that moral harm is basically saying we're going to ignore the harm to one community, and that creates the ground upon which further dehumanization and violence and cultural genocide can take place. So what I want to encourage us to do is for the district to have a 3 or 4 year plan in which we begin to not only honor the boarding school day, Indigenous Peoples Day, but begin to implement more directly the since time immemorial curricula at all levels of our school, and to do so in partnership with the Samish Nation and the Swinomish tribal community. And make sure that their voices are being heard and their voices are being centered on. And that doing so will not offend. I know we may think it will make people feel guilty. We all have to work through issues of what are we responsible for, what are we not responsible for. We're not responsible for what happened, as late as 1960s. We are responsible to remember and behave differently. And I believe our educational and governmental institutions can play a role in helping us create that more positive future where we don't let denial become eventually the excuse for more harm. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. The next public speaker is Kay Knott.
Galapahasiaya squahalitza tatsda to all skadget. K not pasta utsid. My Skagit name is Squahalitza. My English name is K not. I'm a member of the Upper Skagit tribe, and like most local communities here in Anacortes, you have Upper Skagit tribal members, Swinomish, maybe Lummi, as well as Samish. We're small communities and we're intermarried. I speak a lot about boarding schools because I have 3 generations above me, my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, and my grandfather that went to boarding schools. And it has had profound change in our family. The government man came every fall to take the children, and the first thing they did is cut their hair and put lice on their head to make sure they didn't have head lice, and their lives then changed forever. They learned to be in dominant society, the way you dress, the way you eat, the way you pray. So in my public speaking, I met a woman from Anacortes. And so many people don't know about the boarding school experience because they think it was a long time ago. And I said, no, that was my mother and my grandmother. So this woman said, I worked for the airlines and I went to Anchorage, and this load of Alaska Native children were put on the plane, and they were crying and they were vomiting, and they had no idea why this plane full of Alaska Native children were on the plane. And I said, you were flying to Oregon, weren't you? And she said, yes. I said, you were flying to Salem, weren't you? And she said, yes. They were flying those children to Chamawa, where my mother and grandmother went. They were taking those children from Alaska and flying them. We had Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and they were flying those children to a world they had no idea what it was. And when you take away, if you can imagine, if any of you have children, a 6 or 7-year-old, and you tell mom and dad and auntie and uncle and grandparents that you have no voice, you cannot protect your children. It is important that we remember what our history is, not that we can change it, not that it's your fault, but we have a responsibility to understand so that when we meet Indigenous people, we can see a fuller picture longer back. And I would encourage you not only to honor Orange Shirt Day and the children of the United States and Canada, where children are buried at boarding schools, where children were left there, where children were changed forever, but that you honor in another way Native American Heritage Month and the incredible beauty of the Indigenous people in your area. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. The next public speaker is Christina Jamison.
I am actually really embarrassed right now. I thought that was a sign-in sheet.
What comment? You don't have to stand there and give public, unless you want to.
I'll be really fast. Let's see. This is my first meeting that I've attended. I have 3 little kids. My oldest is in 2nd grade at Island View. And I am just getting more and more irritated with the state of school funding. Well, in the whole state. So I was just intending to be a fly on the wall today and see what things were all about and what I could potentially change someday. So thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. All right. Thank you for everybody for being here. We appreciate deeply you attending and participating in our governance board meeting this evening. So thank you. We're going to move to superintendent and assistant superintendent comments.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who is here today. I am profoundly respect what your messaging and you being here and advocating on behalf of our communities, our Native Indigenous communities, and all students. Anastasia, please let me know. I did not get the full details of Friday or whatever. Will you please email me? And Kaynot and Terry, thank you for your comments, and Kaynot, thank you for sharing your story. Becky can talk a little bit more in detail about since time immemorial. We have an amazing partnership with Samish, and yet that is not enough. And we know that, and yet the partnership we do have with Samish is we are making a significant difference with since time immemorial. We have really good plans in place, and we can always do better. So I welcome, and we want more partners at the table, and we want to not only invite people at the table, our table, but we want to come to your table, which is even more important. So I'm deeply honored you're here. We want to engage, and we want to learn and continue to grow. So I look forward to continuing to build relationships and make that happen. And I'm so sorry I forgot your name. I did not get your name.
Oh, mine?
Yes. Christina. And normally we do not address public comments, but I just thank you for being here, and we are really grateful for you, and we can talk more. We need advocates to help fund and help improve our funding. So I will talk to that about some of my superintendent comments. Actually, we had I've been working with our legislators. Alex Rammel's the first one that we've met with this last week. Just starting to get a lay of the land of what the initiatives are moving forward at the state level, and what support we can get from our amazing legislators here in Skagit County and beyond. And so we are continuing as a district and districts across the state to focus on 3 big areas at the legislative level to help us with our funding. Number 1 is transportation. Transportation is extremely inadequately funded for us. Special education, as well as our MSOCs, which means our material supplies and operating costs, utilities and insurance, food, gas, all of those continue to rise at such a and increase at such a significant rate that we were unable to keep up. And so those are the big areas that every district in the state of Washington is focusing on, and the messages that we're sending to our legislators to address in this time. And I'm very excited, and the board has some updates on a work group that I'm honored to be a part of. We have districts from across the state on the east side and on the west side, small districts, large districts. We're working with lobbyists. We're working to understand not just the immediate needs here in Washington state, but working with researchers from the University of Washington to understand and unpack what are the best practices and progressive funding models that are happening across the nation. And it is quite surprising to see that in other states that you typically would not think were progressive, or states that one might assume is not as equitably or focuses on equity, they are actually have very progressive funding models, and Washington State is one of the least progressive when it comes to how we fund our schools. So this particular group of superintendents, researchers, lobbyists are working together to learn what is happening and to build goals across our platform, and to work with our lobbyists to try to create change across Washington State. And we're looking at a 7 to 10 year goal. I mean, there's no way we're going to do this overnight. But we have to, as a state of Washington, think differently about how we fund. And there are models out there across the nation that do work, or work better than what Washington State is doing. And so we're going to continue to work in that area. We are facing significant challenges in our school district. We've been facing significant challenges with funding for the last several years. And each and every year we have made drastic reductions in our amazing workforce. We have cut programs that hurt kids, and it is been devastating for us. And we're continuing to try to cut farthest from the classroom. And we're getting to the point where there is very little left farthest from the classroom to cut. And we're looking at this year and beyond, if the state doesn't come through with more funding, that we're looking at programs and direct impacts to kids, and which we all want to avoid, but we may be in a position where that is unavoidable. So we will continue to work this year. We have worked using the feedback from the several past years to help us inform our decision making. We will not be running a lot of community groups this year because of a lot of the feedback that we received now matters with bargaining and with our labor management groups and personnel, which we can't really talk about or discuss in public as much. So we will be focusing more internally using the feedback from the community over the last several years. However, we will be creating opportunities to engage, talk about what we're doing, and I will be sending communication out on a regular basis. And those who are interested in learning more, my door is always open, and we can talk. With that said, we are has had, I think, one of the most successful start of school years ever, and this is now my 5th year, which is hard to believe. It has been a really smooth start. Our staff, our principals, certificated staff, classified staff, everybody across the district is doing everything to make sure that our kids are feeling welcome over these first few weeks of school. And it has just been a really smooth start. I finished today my final first rounds of visits with principals to start finalizing their school improvement goals, thinking through their action plans, and I'm really impressed with our incredible leaders as well. We are moving forward. We're going to continue to. One of my biggest goals this year is to get into classrooms way more and to get into schools way more. And Nikki has done an incredible job of helping me balance out my calendar. Every Wednesday now I'm in schools, and this is also giving me an incredible boost of energy that I need after 4 years of dealing with COVID crisis and budget crisis. So every Wednesday I get to be in schools, 2 schools at a time, and engage with students, engage with staff. And already, just with this short amount of time, the energy level that I have it reminds me of why I'm even in this position to begin with. And they're the ones keeping me grounded. And so that is a huge success. And lastly, I want to recognize that we have had, unfortunate, another passing of a student recently, and I'm incredibly grateful for the crisis team that has come together, but incredibly saddened for our family. And as we know, the family they're both employees of ours. One is a substitute teacher, and the other one is a teacher in our school district. And it is a very sad event, and we are doing everything we can to support them and be there for them during this time. They do have a memorial or a celebration of life this Saturday here at the high school, and all are welcome to attend as well. But I just want to make sure that people recognize that we have hurt in our community in many ways, and this is another example of hurt and remembering, and so we are here for them and wish them the best during this really, really difficult time.
I think to go along with that, we've just had a lot of compounded grief and loss in our community, and I think it expands when we talk about expanding it to our entire community beyond just the last 4 years. And so a partner that I didn't recognize because I really was focusing on summer is Dr. Katie Eastman, because she actually had spent some time and volunteered her time with the Island View community, because they have been doubly, triply hit, and so affected by some of these tragedies. So I did want to acknowledge that. In all of the hardness and sadness and grief, we have an amazing community, and what I saw at the start of the school year was just, it made my heart jump and sing, and all of the other things that you can say about the joy that it brings to see our kindergartners come that on Monday after school started. Man, those kindergartners, they are writing, they're like far past the first day of school. They were telling me to. They were all telling me all about it. So, and then our preschool started, and I'm really grateful for our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, because they are full for their before and after school program, and they have our infant and toddler program, which is very exciting because it's a great need in our community, and they're building that out. So last thing I'll share is that we've been working really closely with Denise Crow in her role as the educator liaison coordinator in Samish, and she's one person and she works with multiple schools, and we had a lot of opportunities to work with her really deeply the first 2 years that we all came together, and part of that was the nature of the different flexibility that education looked like, because we weren't in this structured environment, and we were adopting curriculum. And one of our commitments that we focused on is trying to do place-based and embedded in our work, bringing STI and our curriculum together so that it wasn't this separate pull apart. There are some things that we need to do very specifically and explicitly, but really build it in to our whole, just make it part of our community and our curriculum. We have 100% a long ways to go, but we've built a really strong foundation, and we do meet with her every year. She has been typically a part of our adoption processes, so that when we're adopting new curriculum, she's part of it in some way or another, and also sometimes participates in the training and then kind of the planning. And then the last thing that I wanted to share related to this is that there's this Swinomish School Partnership. So this is for schools, and Swinomish puts it on. And actually, Samish is represented because Denise is there. And this was the first year that we got invited. We got connected through board work that there's this big annual event that we participate in right around Native education, and we got connected into this, and so I'm going to that 3 times a year. Denise was there, and we had small group breakouts, and part of it, and the part that we actually were talking about, the different districts that were there is how do we truly, truly implement and partner, because we shouldn't do this on our own. We need to partner and not stretch and not overtax our tribes and our partners in this. And it's a real, we want to do this right, and we want to do this in good partnership. So that was a common theme and a common conversation that we were having. And like I said, it's just the beginning, and there will be more to come, and we have a lot of more work to do. Thanks.
Thank you. We have board comments. Are there board comments this evening?
I wanted to pick up on Dr. Clifford's point about the Boys and Girls Club, and in recognition of partners earlier this evening. Anacortes Noon Rotary is going to make the Boys and Girls Club the recipient of their fall fundraiser this year. And while we're not directly involved with either of them, our students and our families benefit from that partnership. So I wanted to recognize both of them for that effort.
Thank you. Other board comments? I was going to acknowledge our guests who left, but I'm going to say this anyway, even though they walked out. I am a bit embarrassed to admit this, but my son, who's going to be starting his freshman year of college at University of Washington next week, a couple of years ago when the news emerged about the graves in Canada, he asked me about it, and I said, "Don't you know about the boarding schools?" Like, he had not heard, and I think he was a sophomore, junior in high school. So, and I take some responsibility. We all should as part of the district. But he did not know about that. He had not been taught. So I think, even though they left, just want to name that we can do better. And kids should not graduate in 12th grade out of Anacortes School District and not have heard that history. So just wanted to name that. And also just reiterating thanks to the community partners as well. Any other comments?
Mostly I've gotten to do the fun things that start with school as a librarian. So I got to meet with the creative writing group that's a partnership with our library here, and they were all so excited about all the things that they're doing. And so I got to see some of that fun, and just so grateful that in all this stressful work we've done as we've been working on the budget, have been able to keep as many options as we can for kids now, and that they are really appreciating them. The variety of things that small group that I see regularly is doing, I'm proud that they have those opportunities. And then I also did want to acknowledge, since one of our recent losses was on this topic, that we'd also been working, and I know that there were materials here since it is National Suicide Prevention Month, and making sure everybody knows about the 988 number and that we do have resources. And I appreciate that we have partners that help us, and both to respond to a crisis and also educate, because anyone who knows that they have an option and knows that we care in our community, each one matters. And so thank you for all the work you do in those partnerships so that we can hopefully prevent as many tragedies as possible and take care of everyone when they do.
Thank you. So we will move on to student comments. I know we have a couple of building reports, so maybe we should start there, and then if students have comments, they're welcome to make comments as well. But let's start with Gabby with Fidalgo Elementary.
Is this okay? It's on. I always have to double check. I never fully know. But so I got the chance to speak with Dr. Dowd the other day, and I got to ask her some questions. So the first question I asked Dr. Dowd is, what are your main goals in the school improvement plan this year? And we talked about this one for I think 10 minutes, and it kind of answered all my other questions. So a lot of this question you'll hear again in other questions too. But so Dr. Dowd said she wants to start using street data to analyze the difference in kids that might not show improvement with the MAPS test or the SBAC. So over the summer she read the street data book, and she recommends that everybody reads it because she thinks it's very helpful, because for many, many years it's just been kids you'd only see improvement if it was on a test, if it got higher, but there's definitely different ways that you can tell if a kid is learning and improving in class. And she also wants to continue to develop positive teacher and student relationships. And another one of her huge goals this year is to start leadership within the elementary schools, which is something that I thought was really cool. This year, there's over 80 kids in the K-Kids Club, which I think is awesome. Another thing they started doing to show leadership is before school starts, every student lines up in the gym, and then one student will get to say the pledge in front of the whole school, which is just something that was cool that I thought I'd mention in there. But yeah, definitely an emphasis on starting leadership in young, and hopefully those students can carry that into middle school and high school. The next question I asked Dr. Dowd was, what evidence have you collected to show progress? And Dr. Dowd mentioned that ever since like the first grade of like COVID, kids has like moved on, and now there's been, I think it's third grade is the first grade not affected by COVID. I might be wrong on that, but it's somewhere around there. But test scores have rapidly like increased since the COVID, we've just moved past COVID more, but it's still too early in the year to show the difference in like MAPS tests. But she said that, she said that she's looking into, so far she's seen positives in different kind of data, like when she verbally talks to kids that last year maybe wouldn't talk to an adult, and this year they're coming up to teachers to talk to them, which is pretty cool. And then the third question I asked was, how have you socialized with student outcomes in your school? And Dr. Dowd mentions by saying hi to kids, hi when kids walk into school every morning, getting to see their faces, and one-on-one interactions. Like even when I was speaking with Dr. Dowd for the first half of it, there was just a student in there, and she was like talking to both of us, and it was really cool to see, like, I don't know, just there's just always like the one-on-one relationships, which I think is really awesome to see. And then when I asked about how the school improvement plans connects to the pillars of the strategic plan, Dr. Dowd said she, once again, is looking into using different kinds of data, and the data she has collected so far is very promising, and she's very excited to see where this year leads. And when I asked if there's anything else I wanted to add, she's like, well, let's just take a tour of the building. So we popped into a lot of classes. It was really cute. Something that we highlighted was how amazing the kindergarten class is. Like I thought it was a third grade class when I walked in there. I was like, are we in a third grade class now? And she's like, nope, kindergarten still. And it was honestly shocking. Like when I walked in, like they were all like spelling out names and letters on whiteboards, and their handwriting was like better than mine. Like they were all like repeating straight back, like everything. They were sat in rows, and my kindergarten class didn't look like that, so I thought that was really, really cool. And then we went into Miss Anderson's classroom, and everything that she had in there, like we went through all the different like cheers and callbacks that she had, which I thought was really cool, because if like it's like a great way to engage like the students within like how they're working, and just to make them more excited. And they have staff meetings where they'll show like highlight videos of like awesome things teachers are doing, and then other teachers can see it and join on, and like just trends throughout the school that I think is really cool. Something else that's working really well for them is they have, of course, their weekly staff meetings, but they also have weekly meetings with the paraeducators, which is very important, and it's been helping a lot with specific kids that they thought have been showing tremendous growth with having more paraeducator with them. So then they can talk about things that are working for them, things that they could work differently, and just a community within the paraeducators has been really helpful for them. And then we also popped into the music classroom, and it was so cute. One kid, I wrote it down, he was like, Miss for Knowledge Martin is like magical, and she was saying how like she was like Mary Poppins, which I thought was awesome, so I was like, I gotta share that. But yeah, it was a truly great site visit.
Thank you, Gabby. So much good information and really great, inspiring stories. So, Paige was at Anacortes Middle School.
Yes. So I met with Miss Dunan and then our new assistant principal, Miss Frost. So my questions are the same as Gabby's, so you'll hear some familiar things. So the first question are, what are the main goals in their school improvement plan? And so this was very similar to last year. So one of their main goals was increasing grades, so increasing across the board A's, B's, and C's. And then they also have an emphasis on students with disabilities, so trying to get them into grade level classes rather than just getting them into electives like, PE and music and stuff like that. And then also improving behavior systems, so within that, reducing the amount of classroom removals. The next question was, what evidence have they collected to show progress? So they're still working on they're in their design phase of the school improvement plan, but they were really looking at enrollment numbers. So seeing how much students were accessing different classes. And then they also have a leadership team that looks through data, and then looking at Skyward reports, which happen monthly. And then also professional learning committees / teams is something they do every other week, I think. So I think that becomes really helpful because then it's teachers in their specific subjects that can really reflect 6th through 8th. And then the next question is, in which ways does your school improvement plan connect to the pillars from the strategic plan? So again, very similar to last year, so pillars 1 and 3. Pillar 1 being the quality of instruction and curriculum, and then pillar 3 being social emotional learning. And then the last question is, anything else you'd like to say about your school, which is personally my favorite because I think that they can really share what they're enjoying this year. So they are had a really great start off to the year. So they welcomed Miss Frost, which she seems to be doing really great. We had a great conversation while I was there, as well as welcoming Miss Burris. So she's the new social worker at the middle school, and that's thanks to a community donor. So that's really fortunate that they got that. Camper Kyla is coming up for the 6th graders, which is a really great bonding experience. I know when I was in 6th grade, that really brought my class together, so I'm really excited that they brought that back after COVID. The 7th graders are going on a Salish Sea School field trip, so they'll get to go out on the boat for the entire day, and last year it was like a really big success, and I still hear about it, so I'm really excited about that. 70 kids auditioned for the play, so that was like crazy to even think about, so that was really great. And then soccer and cross country will have their first meet and game at home this week, so you guys should totally show up to that. And then clubs that are starting are Yearbook, Robotics, Builders Club, Dungeon and Dragons Club, Running Club, and Art Club. And I just think it's so cool that they have such a wide variety of clubs there. So not only are typical clubs, but also Dungeons and Dragons Club. So I think that's really cool. And then they also had a really big shift this year to moving to 2 lunches. So it seems like it's working out really great. They're still trying to kind of figure out how they're supposed to place everybody in there because it's really crowded. So I have heard some student feedback that some kids are outside, so they're a little worried when it starts raining, but I know that they'll be able to figure it out. And then as well for the 6th graders, Mr. Guzik and Miss Besmer are going to start this rotation after Camper Kyla, where if students need help in science, math, English, or history, they can get help from teachers, or this could be a study hall, which I think could be really beneficial for the transition from 5th grade to middle school. And then if they don't want to do that, they can do a choice FIG. So that's really cool. And then their newest program, so Nikki, if you would tap on that, I took a picture of it. So it's called the Hawk 200. So they just implemented this this year. So basically it recognizes and rewards students that are continuously following the Hawk Pledge. So they get awarded by their teacher, so you can see their names up there. So once they get one of those little cards, then they get a little prize. That could be candy or a little dollar store treat. And then once their row gets filled up, then they get another big treat. And then once the top, all of the slots get filled, then they all get put into a lottery. So I thought that was really cool. And then as well as getting treats, they get a nice phone call home, which I thought was so special. I've never heard of that before. And so I think Miss Frost will call home and just say your kid's doing great. So I thought that was really cool, and I bet that makes parents feel really great. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Such great updates from the buildings. We really appreciate it. And it's hard to ask those questions at the beginning of the year when they're just starting to develop their school improvement plan. So appreciate you. Are there any other student comments this evening? Casey?
There we go. Okay, I have a couple. So, touching on the middle school subject, my brother Emmett is in the middle school right now, and he, he feels very free to be himself there. He started, he started this new club. It's the Roblox Club. He loves it, and he gets all his friends to go join, and they all talk about Roblox and play Roblox. So, then I feel like the middle school is doing a really good job at making their kids feel accepted, and the kids finding their own friend groups and whatnot. Two more things. I started working, or I have an internship with a woman named Erin Jones. I don't know if any of you all worked with her, yeah. And she started Project Kindness, and she asked me to be a kindness ambassador at Anacortes High School. And so I have plans to start implementing that project into the high school. And one of the projects I am working on, or I'm going to start working on in the leadership class, is a kindness tree in the building, and just where kids can write down kind stuff. And every Thursday I'll probably go through them, and they're on little leaves, and then they would correspond to whatever season they are. So yeah, and I don't know if maybe at the middle school they might want to start that, or anywhere else. I know the middle school is a tough time, but I feel like that would also just help bring a light of like a nice kindness thing. And then one more thing, the arts programs are doing really well. I'm in choir, and we have so many new people in all of the choirs, and I feel like it's just, the programs are doing really, really good. Like the drama, the band, the choir, they are all they're all doing really, really well. And I just wanted to shout them out because, yeah, they're cool.
Thank you, Casey. We all love Erin Jones, so excited that you're working with her. Yeah.
Can I do one? Okay, I just wanted to do a couple shout outs, but one thing I want to talk about, I talked to a couple of you guys about this earlier, but the Equity Council is actually meeting with Ms. Dunan tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk about how our Equity Council can teach 8th grade leadership about equity, and how 8th grade leadership is going to go into different advisory classrooms and teach about equity. Same thing that we did here, but we thought it might be more impactful coming from people their own age instead of what are people telling them to be kind. It might make more of a difference if we do, or if they do it. So that's just something exciting I wanted to share. That's hopefully going to be really positive, and hopefully that can work in with Casey's kindness campaign a little bit, can do some collab. But I also wanted to shout out our sports, because they're doing so phenomenally right now. I know football is probably going to go really far this year. Same with girls soccer, hopefully, is doing really great right now. And I just think there's a lot of positivity starting the school year out great. So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for your comments and for being here. We love getting real perspectives from you all, so thank you. All right, we are gonna, Mike is all ready for his enrollment report this month.
Yeah, unfortunately, the enrollment is down from projections and down from last year. It's really down in the elementary levels. It is up at the secondary levels. Middle school kind of a break even almost, but up at the high school. And I kind of wanted to do a comparison because typically at the elementary levels, you go from kindergarten to first grade and you gain a few kids type of thing. And that's what we're used to. And that's our trend. It's been our trend a long time, is you kind of gain a few there and you lose some at the secondary levels. That's a normal type of thing. And so, I've been saying, we're declining by 1%, we're declining by 1%. And after a couple of years of not declining by 1%, I went, okay, we're breaking even. And now we decline by 1%. Can't get it right. But at any rate, I just kind of showed that, this year in the elementaries, when we went from June to now, we really didn't go down by much, just kind of one. But if you look at it compared to last year, we were up 46. So being up around 25 or so would be normal, I'd say, for the elementary, and that's where I think we're off a lot. But the secondary grades, if you look at that, middle school, like I said, pretty close to right on, but 9th grade, wow, we got a lot of 9th graders in. I don't know the whys behind it. And 11th grade, we retained a lot more than I thought we would. And so I'm interested to find out what the running start numbers are, to see if there's an impact by offering that college in the high school.
Part of anecdotally, we don't have clear, but anecdotally, we're hearing that there's a lot more choice transfers of other districts moving their kids to ninth grade. I think I would say because of the options and the athletic program and so forth that we offer. Again, this is anecdotal. We have not dug deep yet, but we're hearing that and seeing a lot more requests to move to Anacortes.
So not good news at the elementary, good news at the secondary. Overall, we're down, and that does, equal dollars. So we're going to have to really tighten things up this year as we go along.
I'm sorry that I don't know this, but is the choice, is that new? Is that something the state did? Because I've now heard that anecdotal story from a couple of families, and one, didn't know that was an option, and two, is interested that I've heard it a couple of times this year, and I hadn't heard it before.
No, it's ongoing. So no, this is not new. And we typically don't, standard practice is you wait until, fourth day count before you allow students to transfer in because you don't want to overload classes. And, but because we want kids, we are opening our doors as much as possible to say, yes, you can come transfer to our district and live in another community if you want, as long as we don't greatly exceed large class sizes.
Other questions? Just this will, like, if it maintains with the lower than budgeted numbers, we'll have to find places to trim the budget for this year to make up for that loss.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
To the tune of about how much based on the current numbers?
If it holds where we're at, about $300,000. If it holds where it's at.
So we're hoping kids will move in.
I think it'll go up in October, but our trend is that it'll be very close to where we started in September. So I think I kind of pointed out, we're around 99 to 100, 99.5 to 100.3, percent of where September is as an average for the year. So we'll go up a little bit. We'll lose a few at the secondary levels towards the end of the school year. Yeah. So that's my estimate right now. And my fund balance, I believe, at the end of 23-24 will be up from projections. And how much up and how much will help offset some of this, I don't know yet until I close the books.
Yep. Okay. You have a question, Gabby?
Question. This was just like going through my mind. Is there any risk of us going into the 3A category or 2? Yeah, 3A. No.
First for athletics.
Yeah, for athletics.
We're not close to the top number there.
Because I know Cedar Woolley just switched, and I know there's been like a huge amount of people coming to the high school now, but that's not enough.
A couple hundred more.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Question.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay, do foreign exchange students make an impact on that?
Yes, we get to count them while they're here
sorry.
as a student in our system. So
there was just a bunch of foreign exchange students this year.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know if there's more than normal.
Are they all ninth graders?
Well, they're
There's, like,
definitely high schoolers.
A bunch.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought there was. Oh.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right. We have committee updates. So we'll start with Jack with the WIAA update.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny, for sharing with me the one that you did earlier today. WIA, Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association, has on their agenda for this year a proposed increase in membership fees, so the amount that schools and districts pay to be a part of their governing body, a 25% increase in membership fees. And as you would expect, that will be reflected in a 25% increase in ticket prices for events as well. This is something that we should continue to talk about over the next couple of months, because I will want to make sure that our community understands that this is not a AHS decision. This is not an ASD decision to increase ticket prices. In fact, none of the increase in ticket fees will come directly back to ASD or athletic programs. This is a decision that's being made by the governing body to take care of a lot of administrative fees. It's going to happen. I just want to make sure that we continue to communicate over the next couple of months to our community so they don't think that this is us raising their ticket prices.
Thank you, Jack. Everybody's dealing with things like increased costs of insurance, and it's not just us. So Meredith has a legislative update, which is related.
So Justin talked a little bit about what we're up to, but first of all, the legislative session starts January 13th, and it's a full session, so they'll address the budget. Our board has continued to discuss that we can be hopeful but realistic about what we think will come out of that session for us. So Dr. Irish and Michael keep us updated as those things fall into place. Also, our board has continued to make our legislative action and knowledge a priority. And so we've kept that as a goal for this year. And so we'll continue to do things like sit in on WASDA education or legislative sessions. They do little reports about once a month. They call them happy hours sometimes. There's other information coming out. We are looking at participating in WASDA's Day on the Hill this year. January 11th and 12th, I think those dates are. And so that is getting us in front of some of our legislators. Last year, we did a really great session here with a couple of our local legislators where we talked about impacts of their decisions on their local school districts. And that was very popular in our county, and so the county would like to do something combined. Our little work group earlier, we didn't say this to Justin and Jenny yet, but we think we should step forward and offer to host that so that we have some control over that. And if we don't get that opportunity, we think we should kind of mimic that here again, maybe just by reporting back to our community. We think it's really important that the community understand the budget decisions made in Olympia and how they're impacting us and how they're going to continue for the years to come. We know that we probably won't make a difference this year and maybe even not next year, but we need to continue to lay the foundation and make sure that our legislators are informed about what their decisions are doing to our district, and hope that at some point that turns around. So it will continue to be a goal for our board this year to remain engaged in that conversation.
Thank you, Meredith. We have no new business this evening, which is unusual. So we will move into consent agenda, and if there's no questions or pull-outs, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A through P.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Diana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So just for the board calendar, we have our first site visit of the year, which is exciting, on October 3rd. We'll get to go see some of the things that Gabby talked about at Fidalgo Elementary. And then our next study session and business meeting is October 17th, and then followed by the second site visit of the year at Island View on November 7th. Sorry. So with all that, that's the end of our business meeting this evening, and I will just adjourn the meeting.